The assassination of Julius Caesar didn't just end a man's life. It rewired the very foundations of Western power. In a single bloody moment, the course of history was forever altered, setting in motion a chain of events that would reshape empires, redefine leadership, and leave an indelible mark on our world today. Picture this: a brilliant military strategist, a cunning politician, and a master of self-promotion. Caesar's rise to power was nothing short of meteoric. His campaigns in Gaul weren't just about conquest. They were a masterclass in political branding. With each victory, he crafted an image of invincibility, captivating the Roman public and striking fear into the hearts of his enemies. But it was the crossing of the Rubicon that truly set the stage for Caesar's ultimate triumph. In that fateful moment, as he uttered those immortal words, "The die is cast," Caesar plunged Rome into civil war. It was a bold gambit, a calculated risk that would either lead to his utter destruction or catapult him to unparalleled power. The die is cast, and triumph he did. Caesar's seizure of power was swift and decisive. He didn't just defeat his enemies. He rewrote the rules of Roman politics. His reforms were far-reaching and revolutionary. He centralized power, overhauled the calendar, and launched a propaganda campaign that would make modern spin doctors green with envy. But absolute power, as they say, corrupts absolutely. And on the Ides of March, Caesar's enemies struck. Picture the scene: the great dictator surrounded by conspirators in the theater of Pompey. The air thick with tension, the glint of daggers hidden beneath togas. In a flurry of violence, Caesar falls. His final words, "Et tu, brute," echoing through the ages. Ides of March, the assassination was meant to save the Republic. Instead, it sounded its death knell. The aftermath was chaos. Civil wars erupted, alliances shifted, and from the ashes rose a young man named Octavian. Caesar's heir would finish what his adoptive father started, transforming Rome from a republic into an empire. But Caesar's legacy extends far beyond the borders of ancient Rome. His death reshaped institutions, redefined the concept of military loyalty, and revolutionized the art of political propaganda. Even our modern calendar bears his imprint. The month of July, named for Julius himself. FROM, Republic to Empire. There's a chilling lesson here, one that echoes through the corridors of time. Republics don't die in an instant. They crumble slowly, their institutions hollowed out from within. Caesar's rise and fall is a stark reminder of the fragility of democratic systems when faced with charismatic strongmen and weakened checks and balances. In many ways, Caesar's death holds up a mirror to our own time. The concentration of power, the cult of personality, the blurring of lines between military and civilian leadership, these are not just relics of ancient history. They are challenges we grapple with today. Consider the parallels. Modern leaders who bypass traditional institutions, the role of media in shaping public perception, the delicate balance between security and liberty. Caesar's role may seem distant, but its lessons are startlingly relevant. The Rubicon of our time may not be a physical river, but the principles at stake are just as crucial. How do we safeguard our democratic institutions? How do we balance the need for strong leadership with the dangers of autocracy? These are questions that Caesar's legacy forces us to confront. And what of assassination as a political tool? Caesar's death proves its futility. Violence begets violence, and the cycle of retribution often leads to outcomes far removed from the assassin's intentions. The conspirators who killed Caesar hoped to restore the Republic. Instead, they paved the way for an even more centralized form of power. But let's not forget the power of ideas. Caesar's reforms, controversial as they were, addressed real issues in Roman society. His populist approach, his efforts to extend citizenship, his attempts to tackle economic inequality, these were not just cynical power grabs. They were responses to genuine societal needs. This complexity is what makes Caesar's story so enduringly fascinating. He was neither hero nor villain, but a product of his time who shaped the course of history through sheer force of will. His ambition knew no bounds, his talent was undeniable, and his impact reverberates to this day. Think about it, every time you check your calendar, you're interacting with Caesar's legacy. July and August, named for Julius and Augustus respectively, are daily reminders of how deeply embedded Roman history is in our modern world. But it's not just about names and dates. Caesar's approach to power, the cultivation of a public image, the use of military success for political gain, the centralization of authority, these are playbooks that leaders have drawn from for centuries. From Napoleon to modern-day populists, the echoes of Caesar's strategies can be heard. The promise of stability in times of chaos, the appeal to the common people against the perceived elite, the blending of personal and state interests, these are tactics as old as Caesar himself. Yet, we must be cautious in drawing too direct a line from ancient Rome to our modern world. Context matters. The challenges we face today, climate change, global pandemics, technological disruption, are uniquely our own. But the fundamental questions of governance, of power, of the relationship between the individual and the state, these are timeless. Caesar's death teaches us that moments of great change often come unexpectedly. The conspirators who plunged their daggers into Caesar could not have foreseen the empire that would rise from their actions. It's a reminder that history is not a straight line, but a series of unpredictable turns and unintended consequences. As we navigate our own turbulent times, Caesar's story serves as both warning and inspiration. It warns us of the dangers of unchecked power, of the fragility of democratic norms. But it also inspires us to think boldly, to imagine new possibilities for governance and society. In the end, Caesar's legacy is a challenge to us all. It asks us to consider our own role in shaping the future. Are we passive observers of history or active participants in its creation? Do we learn from the past, or are we doomed to repeat its mistakes? The answers to these questions will determine the course of our own era, just as surely as Caesar's actions shaped his. As we stand at our own historical crossroads, let us remember the lessons of that fateful day in March, over 2,000 years ago. For in understanding Caesar's death, we gain insight not just into ancient Rome, but into the very nature of power itself.